So thank you again, everyone, for joining us for our weekly Facebook Live conversation. Today's topic is going to be individual and family emotional well-being during COVID-19. So leading the conversation today for CCADV is Kai Belton, who is the clinical director of Safe Connect. And she is joined by Mary Deneen Elovich, who is executive director of Intentions Counseling and Clinical Training Center in Farmington, and also adjunct faculty at the University of St. Joseph's Graduate School of Social Work. And also Erica Moses, who is owner of Full and Fit Family, which is a private group counseling practice in Middletown. Robin, did you have any housekeeping you wanted to go over with the audience today?
Sure, briefly. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with us. Just so you all know, everybody is on mute right now, and when the conversation is over, we will go ahead and open it up for Q&A. So please feel free to, while the conversation is happening, put all of your questions, comments, concerns within the chat field, and I will be monitoring those throughout the duration of the discussion. So if something pops into your head, feel free to throw it in there, and we'll take it during the Q&A session. And also we're streaming this out to Facebook Live. So if anyone on the Facebook Live side has any questions, we'll also be fielding those as well. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in.
All right, Kai, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Liza. Thank you, Robin. And thank you to everybody who is tuning in. And to Mary and Erica, both therapists in private practice, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to talk with us about individual and family wellness during COVID-19. So, Mary, I am going to start with you. So remember to unmute. So many of us have been sheltering in place for a while now to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Schools are closed. People are working from home, and there's very limited social interaction right now. What effects does this have on an individual's mental health?
Thank you, Kai, and thank you to everyone who is watching. Number one thing I want everyone to know, first thing, you are doing the very best you can. We are all in a state of not knowing. We are all in the unknown, and we are all doing the very best we can. And that means our kids are doing the best they can too. The impact on mental health has been incredible. From a standpoint that I have with my practice, with children, teens, and adults, it's really shining a light on all the cracks in the mental health system. It's shining a light on all the cracks in our own resilience, but it's also really highlighting our strengths. And so many people and children and parents are doing their very best to focus on the strengths. And so I think that the mental health, I'm hoping that we all now are in a collective time of, oh my goodness, what is happening in my life? And so in this collective spirit, we're all realizing that mental health is really important. I am hoping that this really helps all of us to take that stigma away from mental health, because now we all need support. We all need support. And how can we open up ourselves to be able, as providers, to be able to be there for people? One of the things that's happening is telehealth medicine, and that is doing sessions over as we are right now. And for some people, that is really working out great. It's making it a little bit more accessible. It's making it easier. So there's a lot of positives that are coming out of this time. It's helping us to realize that there's more than one way to access mental health. And so I really am hoping that it is a time when because we are all focused on mental health, that we're all going to start looking at mental health differently. And if we are seeing in our families now, children or our partners or our parents, you know, our loved ones, if we're really seeing that they need extra supports, this is a great time to open up that conversation, because we're all talking about mental health. They're talking about it on TV, they're talking about it at school. So this is a time when we can really, I am hoping, you know, gather new ways to access mental health.
I agree, Mary. Erica, for families who are juggling working from home and homeschooling, and in some cases taking care of elderly parents, and I know you can really speak to this, what suggestions would you give on how to balance everything?
I definitely can speak to this. And again, thank you for allowing me to be here and be a part of this conversation, everyone. It is very important. I kind of giggle when you said that I can speak to this, because my disclaimer beforehand is that my children are here. They know mommy's working and they're doing their thing, but they might step in, and if they do, just I want everybody to be aware, they might say hi. But, you know, it is a lot. I think the first thing that I have been communicating with people, and even to myself, is really to be nice, right? That kind of age-old saying, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Like your mom has taught you that. And that goes for yourself. Be nice to yourself, be gentle. There's lots of like quotes out there and everything. Take care of you, say nice and kind things to you. Take the space that you need first. After that, I think you have to kind of identify for the family if you work best with a schedule or if you work best with a plan. And then I think my third thing would be to log off, log out, get respite, decompress, whatever way it is that you do it for you, right? So when I say be nice, it's finding those strengths, trying to look at all of the positives, as Mary has said, that you can find, rather than kind of dwelling in, you know, all of the loss, the outside world, the changes and things like that. It doesn't feel good. You're experiencing it, but it's helpful to think of those strengths, excuse me. You know, juggling with the family. When I say schedule or plan, you have to identify what works for you. Some people do best with the structure of, we're going to do this at this time. We're going to do that. We're going to move on to the next thing. For some people, that is very anxiety provoking. I know if you're an individual like me, I'm going to put the schedule out the window. I'm going to have a plan. We're going to do these 5 things today. I'm going to do this one thing for myself at this time, you know, whatever works for you, schedule versus plan. And then just the log off, you know, turning off the news when you need to, stepping away from the electronics if you can, not really immersing yourself in more of the negative things that can be seen on you know, Facebook or the internet or things like that. And again, going back to being gentle, being nice. If you need to take a break, if the kids need to take a break, if we need to kind of push this to the side, that's okay. We'll get back to it. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Being kind to yourself is very important at a time like this, and for our kids, this has to be such a challenging time, not really knowing, you know, what is happening, and for many of us as adults, you know, what's happening around us is difficult for even us to comprehend. So, Mary, how do you talk to children about the pandemic?
Okay. Erica, I just really loved what you said about taking care of you first. Again, because parents have to take care of themselves and caregivers so that they can give to their children, right? Because our children are really confused right now. whether they're 3 or 5 or 11 or 18 or 22. This is a really, really, really confusing time. And when there is mystery, when there is not knowing, children, by nature of being children, begin to fantasize. If you had an anxious child before this, you have a very anxious child right now. And if you had a child who was suffering with depression, they are really suffering now. So where there's mystery, children fantasize. One of the things we need to do is balance, and balancing, of course, is so hard. I first recognized the word at 40, like balance. Oh, life is about balance. Oh, what's that about, right? So really trying to turn the news off. Trying to turn the news off and saying that we are not listening to the news, because there's a lot of things coming up all the time, and not all of them are true. So really looking at what the age of your child is and being open to their questions, answering their question. And that means really listening to what the question is, not what we think the question is, but what is that question, and not giving them too much information. The other really big thing is our kids are looking to us. They are looking to us. If we have our hair on fire, they are going to have their hair on fire too. So that's really hard. One of the best resources I have found for young children is PBS Kids. They have got some wonderful resources there that help talk about the pandemic. And in terms that children can really begin to understand. Moms, dads, grandma, grandpas, aunts, uncles, watch PBS Kids. It's really will help reassure you. And then what I'm finding for older kids and teens is harvard.health.edu, or I think it's .edu. Yes, health.harvard.edu. It has all sorts of resources there. How to talk to teenagers, how to talk to children who are like 7 to 9, because we know that they have really active imaginations. And so what are they how are they feeling about this? Really listening to what our children are asking. They're asking to be reassured that we're going to be okay. So we're going to wash our hands. And the other thing I'm finding is, as adults, we do not want to wear masks. And we've got to really change our attitudes. It's all state of mind, shift in our state of mind, that our children, I really do believe, are going to grow up over the next 2 years wearing masks. I think that when treatment begins again, we're going to be having masks on. And so I think that one of the biggest things is that's concrete. So if we can embrace that concrete object of a mask, I think that it is going to be helpful. Because children do learn by example, whether we like it or not. And so those are some things about really trying to help kids understand the pandemic when we don't understand it, and being perfectly honest. Guess what? This is my first pandemic. I don't know either.
Right.
So we're exploring this together. Our children want to hear that we're in it together. We're here. Hey, you, me, we're in this house, whether we like it or not. And, we're in this together. That's what our children really want is that, hey, you and I were in it together, and we're going to get through it together. And we are going to get through this. We don't know yet how, but we are going to get through it. If you are a mother or a father, you know hard, right? Parenting is not easy at all. And so we know what hard is, and this is hard, and it's okay for our kids to see us struggle. That's how we nurture and foster resilience. When we struggle and we're working through it, we are doing it together. And parents, don't be afraid to look at your kids and say, wow, you rock. You're awesome. Man, I'm learning from you. I'm learning that, wow, you just created this, great game. I'm learning from you that you're being creative. Huh? Isn't that amazing? Our children are our source of strength too. And so there's a real sharing, a reciprocity that I think that we can really embrace at this time. So
thank you for that,
that's
Mary.
it. I'm going to mute myself.
No, don't mute yourself. You said that wonderfully. And Erica, you touched on this. Would you like to add anything to that, first of all?
Mary, I loved everything that you said. You see me shaking my head because I completely agree with all of that. And some of the resources were very helpful. There are lots of things out there, definitely, for parents to read on how to communicate. And I find that it's okay too to let the children kind of steer the conversation with what they're already coming up with, and then just kind of guiding them from there as well. That was just awesome. Thank you. Sorry, Kai.
So, speaking of being in the house together, whether we like it or not, what are some things that individuals, parents can do to practice self-care? And then, because we are in the house together, what are some things that we can do together as a family?
So yeah, self-care is important, and family time is important, right? So we might all be, just speaking of the family time, we're all in the same space, but we might not be necessarily having that family care, right? This child could be doing their thing, your partner's over there doing that, you're probably making meals or what have you. So first, stepping back to the self-care, that is super, uber, duper important. I can't stress that enough, right? We know that. We knew that before the pandemic, and it is more important now. Here at Full and Fit, we call it soul shine, right? What is that thing that you can do on purpose to actively take care of you and find a moment of that joy, right? What speaks to you? And so I am definitely talking with people on how they have to beef that up. And it doesn't have to be, obviously, not hours, and we're not going anywhere. So it's finding a space, carving out multiple times when you can to take a moment. And that can be whether you are taking a breath, if you are meditating, if you are someone who is physically active and doing fitness, go ahead and do that. Whatever it is that you do for you to kind of decompress, to take that time out, and also be nice, going back to being nice to yourself. There have been many virtual classes online that I've been fortunate to participate in, some yoga classes, some fitness classes. At Full and Fit, we've been able to do some dance fitness virtually, which has been not only great for the people who participate, but let's be honest, that's my joy. So I've been finding myself having a ball with connecting with people through that. Whether you're meditating or using an app to just do some breathing. I love that the watch will tell you, depending upon what watch you have, will say breathe, right? That in itself is self-care. It can be 1 minute, 10 minutes. If you're lucky and fortunate enough to get a little bit longer, take advantage of it, right? Oh, my lights are on motion, so pardon that. And then as for the family, try to take that time out, decompress. I know that the kids are on a lot of screens, probably because they're doing education on the screens now. They're having the Zoom meetings where they're talking to their peers, and then afterwards they're probably playing games or just Snapchat, Facebook, all of those social media things that they like. I'm hearing from parents are like, you know, they're sleeping all day and then they're up all night and they're on these things. You know, not really family time, definitely not. So you want to kind of say, listen, hey, and you might get some grumbles. And that's okay. You know, we're all doing the best that we can, but it is also important for us to connect as a family. So anytime where you're on, you know, taking time together on purpose, having a conversation, if you're still doing meals together, I think that that is important because you guys are connecting. You know, when we have the nice weather, if you have the ability to step outside or sit outside, or, you know, obviously with the right precautions, take a walk or what have you, depending upon where you're going or where you're at. I think that that is also important to incorporate that time with family together.
Thank you.
You see me do a little dance as I try to get the light back on. Pardon me.
So Mary, given the ongoing stress that is happening outside of the home, and we've talked about some of that, what are some ways that families can maintain healthy relationships inside the home?
Wow. That's an easy question now, isn't it, everybody who's watching? Oh, yeah, I'll just wiggle my nose. Okay, so, you know, one of the well, it's not easy. It's very, very, very difficult. Mm-hmm. And the most important thing that comes out of this time is the quality of the relationship you have with the people that live with you. You know, I used to be a teacher, so I can't believe I'm saying this. Guess what? Academics, it doesn't matter this semester. It really doesn't. This is a really unusual time, and it's very, very stressful. So if we are people who have had any kind of trauma history, anything that is the unknown puts us into a state of toxic stress. When we're in a state of toxic stress, guess what? Has anyone during this time lost their cool? So, of course, yeah, stay regulated. We can't stay regulated. Our children are having a difficult time staying regulated. Number one thing is name it. This is hard. You know, with some of my families, we've instituted a circle time so that, you know, you come together and you say, the way Barack Obama and Michelle used to do it, roses and thorns. What moments worked today? What moments were thorny? Some of my families are doing nopes for the bad moments and dopes for the good moments, you know, yays and nays, you know, you can figure out whatever for your family, have them figure out, hey, because what we want to do during this time to help our relationships is if we fall apart, if we overreact, if we lose our cools, that's a rupture. Everybody ruptures in their relationships. Let's have a repair. We're together long enough now these days that we have time for that repair, right? Because we're not running out the door. So again, setting boundaries and really trying to say, and maybe the boundary is mom is, or dad, or whoever is the caregiver is taking 30 minutes right now. I've got 30 minutes. Unless the house is on fire, I don't want to hear from anybody, right? Sometimes saying no is a great way to take care of yourself. Somebody asks you something, set the boundary. No, I am just trying to keep my hair on my head today, right? And really beginning to think about how can we really look at our days moment to moment. Because there's a lot of awesome moments, right? If we begin at, at dinner, or if we have a circle time, or, we're all together. Hey, what worked for you today? Oh, what was a great moment that you had? What was your shining star moment? You know, what was your castle moment or your dungeon moment? You know, people are making up all sorts of different ones that meets your family needs. You're the only one that knows your family. So your family can do this together. But reflecting on the positives helps children gain executive functioning skills, helps us too, right? And also, you know, reflecting on what didn't work today. Wow, well, it didn't work today. Yesterday, though, we didn't have that. So let's see what happens tomorrow. Again, helping to reflect moment to moment. Not every day is horrible. Moments of it are. But then there's also those positive moments. And that's what I think that can get us through from day to day. You know, taking it one day at a time is out the window, right? It's moment to moment to moment.
Holding on to those small moments are very important. Right.
Yes.
Erica, and Mary touched on this briefly, for those young people who were struggling with anxiety and depression before the pandemic, how is this impacting them now? And what advice could you give to parents who are at home with them to help them?
So that's a tough one, right? So, you know, individuals, I think, who are already experiencing anxiety and depression and struggle with regulating their mood, this is really at times can exacerbate those symptoms, right? Especially in the beginning. And so my suggestion to them and to the parents would be to continue to rely on those tools that have been effective. This is the time, right, where we reach into our toolbox of things that have been helpful for us, and we increase the amount of use. And so that again is taking the time, incorporating the self-care. You know, if you find that activity is helpful, then we're going to increase that. If it's a benefit to have more breaks throughout the day, then you do that. You know, it's not just we're going to one thing to improve our health. We have a lot of things that we rely on and that we use. It might be that there's more conversation with parents and their children, more check-ins that may need to happen. You know, with the telehealth, I could say that definitely in the beginning, when this was starting to unfold, you know, we were definitely having more conversations with both the young people and the adults. You know, how do we adjust? What's going on? What's going on with the world, and how are we going to move forward? And that's okay. You talk to the people that are a support. You connect with your clinician that you have that relationship with. And, you know, we've been able to maybe meet a little bit more frequently if that's something that has to happen, or there's check-ins or phone calls, even if it's not a full direct session. You know, I think that it's also, I mentioned earlier, just in terms of the self-care piece, it's really beefing that up as well. We're going to be proactive and doing things to the best of our ability in terms of managing our mood, right? We can't change the outside world. We know that there's this pandemic and all of these rules that we have to kind of now transition to and get used to. But if you know that doing a certain thing isn't helpful for you emotionally, I'm going to encourage you to do the thing that is most helpful for you emotionally. So I hope that was a help in terms of in answering that question. But we really want to just beef up the tools that we're already using, having the conversation, doing the self-care, making sure we're getting enough sleep. I definitely think in the beginning, a lot of people had been staying up later, you know, not taking care of their physical health. Let's manage that stuff first. Definitely some dehydration going on with staying up, probably drinking more coffee and stuff like that, you know. So we want to kind of step away from that stuff. Let's manage the things that we can manage and take care of. And then we'll have a little bit more oomph, a little bit more strength, so to speak, to then manage those things as they're coming. We're filling our tank. That's about all I got on that one. I mean,
thank you for that, Erica.
Yeah, no.
Thank you for that. And Mary, can you just add to that, speaking to college students who are at home right now and being impacted by the pandemic? Sorry.
Oh boy. So college students, you know, this is really, college age is a really unique age. You're not an adult, you're not a kid, you know everything, right? You know, that's the beauty of being a college kid is that you know everything about everything. And so, you know, but kids are struggling. First off, if you were away at school and then you came home, you're struggling with boundaries around your parents' expectations, around your own. You know, this is college aged students. It's a time of freedom. And that's something that we are struggling with. Like, hey, I live in the United States of America and I'm supposed to be free to do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it. And so this is challenging our sense of community. Like, how am I a part of the bigger community? You know, we saw in the beginning, all the college kids down in Florida, like, oh, I'm not going to get coronavirus, you know, and not really looking at it from the standpoint of community. Again, I think this could be one of the blessings that come out of this is that we're all being made aware of, I impact you and you impact me. So in my trying to do the right thing by, you know, washing my hands, socially distancing and wearing a mask is, you know, good for me. I'm doing it because it's good for you too. So there's a blessing that we're hoping that college students, that may be really hopeful on my part, but another unique thing is that college is a very stressful time. High school is a very stressful time. We think kids have got it easy. Kids do not have it easy. They are being impacted very, very, very strongly at this time. So again, giving your college student a little bit of a break. This is hard. It's hard for you as a parent because our expectations, you know, we had this all figured out. You did well in high school. Now you're off into college and I've got some freedom until May 10th, right? And then all of a sudden my house is full, right? Yeah. Right. We know how hard that is. It's hard on us, but again, it's really hard on our students. So really listening to them and really hearing the pain and the loss of what they had thought was going to be happening to them. We're mourning the loss of going to work and doing our thing exactly the way we were supposed to and going on our walks and you know, shopping. I mean, my gosh, I'm missing Marshalls in a way I never thought possible, right?
Oh, me too.
Like, oh my God, I tried to go online to shop for Marshalls. What up? They don't sell online. So, you know, I mean, all of these different things, that is tiny and it's silly. But so many of our students are really struggling with what we may think are those silly little things of not being with our friends all the time. Mm-hmm. That's developmentally the stage they're in. They should be with their friends all the time. So again, trying to really take a seat back and say, this is really hard for you, isn't it? It's hard for me too. It's hard for you. And really having some of that compassion for how hard it is for ourselves, but really giving that to our students too, no matter what their age.
Thank you for that, Mary. I felt that question was really important because sometimes we overlook that group, and we focus on children and elderly and adults, and they do need a lot of support. So thank you for answering that. Erica, so we have some service providers who are tuning in. So can you talk about your experience with telehealth and how to engage families virtually? Because that can't be easy.
Well, there was definitely an adjustment for individuals who I've been seeing and used to seeing in the office to one, get on the platform and figure out how to use that and download and everything to that effect. And then of course there's, the paperwork and things like that come with that. But, moving forward, as we've kind of gotten into the swing over these last few weeks of how to or have adjusted, we are managing to the best of our ability. Fortunately, sometimes depending upon how the internet service is working, right, there may be a lag, or you might have to repeat things a little bit more. There might be a little bit more questions or repeated things. And again, it goes back to just being patient and recognizing that this is kind of the new system, and we're going to get through it, and we'll get through it together. Definitely if you have any extra concerns or anything like that with individuals, like I may call them rather than the screen, kind of just to check in. You do lose a little bit of kind of some of the nuances, that you would ordinarily get when you're face to face with one another. And I think it's okay to speak to that. I think that we can, I will pause and say, all right, wait, so I'm understanding you kind of in this way. Is that correct? And, you just ask those questions and they're like, no, Erica, you are way off. That's not where I'm at. And, fortunately, we know each other, or some of the people that I've been working with, we have that relationship, we have that connection. And so we can both be honest. We are all figuring this new system, this world together. And so, we just have to be patient, be nice, is what I said previously. We still take those moments, if we need a mindful moment to kind of recharge ourselves or to get into the space of the conversation about what's going on, we'll pause and we can do that. And then we just discuss our observations and do our best to not judge it. Right. So I would say, for those other providers, continue to do what you're doing. Now is definitely the time where people need to talk, and they might need to express themselves more frequently. And it might be, telephone calls if people use messaging or emails. I think that's probably for myself has kicked up a little bit. And that's all right, because, we're here to serve and to help and to support each other.
Thank you. So this is going to be my last question, and I would like for both of you to answer it. I am so sorry. This was not supposed to happen. What would you say to all the helpers, the social workers, the essential workers, people who are taking care of other people all the time and, really putting that before themselves? What would you say to all of them? And Mary, you can answer first.
Okay, thank you so much for this question, because as someone who is a helper, this is a time when our cracks come out too, right? And so we have to be really honest about that. To all providers, we know research tells us that many of us come into this field because we know what pain feels like. And we want to be able to support people through that journey of pain. And so that also means that we don't always take as great care of ourselves in the best of circumstances as we should, right? So again, this is a great time of balancing your yes with your no's. Say no when you need to, but also really finding solace in, guess what? None of us know. We are on an equal playing field. And wow, that is hopefully reassuring. And another thing that I'm finding out with the clinicians that I supervise, they are very open about, hey, I'm struggling. And I think that's a beautiful thing, because very often we as social workers or MFTs or, professional counselors, we don't want to open up and say, I have no idea what's happening.
Right.
We don't want to talk about it because we know everything, right? We're like college kids. Yeah. And so we really have to think about that this is a time when collectively we can normalize that, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I feel exhausted. I feel this, I feel that. I'm hyper. And this is just me naturally. We have to be able to really own up that we're humans. We do not have invisible capes. And I hate to break that to all of you who are providers listening. We really don't. And this is where I know, Erica, we're getting the invisible capes, right? All of those invisible capes that we've been dragging around with us in and out of our bags, back and forth to work, guess what? They don't exist. And we're starting to find that out. And so I really think that this is a time when we try to encourage other people to ask for help, because we all have needs now. We have needs that maybe we didn't know we had 4 or 5 months ago. And so us realizing that we need support, we need help. If we don't have a therapist, seek one out. We can really grow during this time. We have to grow during this time. We don't really have choices but to grow. And so in order for us to thrive, I think we have to normalize as providers, we need help, we need support. And that can be through our peers, it can be through supervision, and it can be through us getting our own mental health support. If we want to change the stigma of mental health, we've got to fess up that we need support too. We are all humans, every single one of us, no matter what. We're all human and we all need support. And it's my hope and prayer that at this time, we're all realizing that, because we're collectively struggling.
Thank you, Mary.
Well, yeah, Mary, thank you. that was definitely very powerful and true. And I appreciate that. Thank you. I would say to those helpers who are out there, I guess first, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to care for others. Thank you for caring for yourself so that you have the ability to continue to do the things that you are doing. My heart is aching for all of us really right now, and especially those who are having the most difficult times. But just as Mary had said, we are collectively kind of in this, experiencing it differently, but it is happening to all of us. And so continue to be compassionate as you are, to rely on your strengths and the work that you do. You are amazing in your field and with the people that you're connected to, I'm sure, right? There's a reason that we do the work that we do. And I know that there are individuals that they're touching that is a huge benefit for those people, for those that are being cared for or touched upon, or just even lifted by, someone taking the time and showing the care. So I would really just say thank you, and continue doing what you're doing, and continue taking care of you so that you can do what you do. We're fortunate here at Full and Fit Family to have amazing clinicians who, are helpers as well, and they do this really part-time. And so they are out in the fields and they're doing, wearing so many different hats, so to speak. And so, if ever anyone needs to also communicate or talk with someone, definitely reach out, because we have the people here who can talk with them as well. But thank you.
Well, thank both of you ladies for having this conversation with us about individual and family wellness during COVID-19. We really appreciate it. You gave us some very valuable information, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Robin, do we have some questions from the audience?
Yes, we're going to start with our Zoom group chat right now. And again, ladies, thank you so much. All of that was so valuable. And I know we touched upon this a little bit throughout the discussion, but we just want to hear a few more opinions. So let's see. What tools or suggestions are there for women that can't do the things that they normally do for self-care, such as getting their nails done or their hair? What are your suggestions?
Mary, you want to take that one, or do you want me to?
I guess I'm going to really fess up here. Learning how to do toes myself. Mm-hmm. And box of hair dye, some of these things. But it's true. We have depended on that. And those really are, luxuries that we've kind of gotten used to. I know that I'm finding that I had to find something different, because obviously I needed to color my hair. So I needed to go to the store and get a box of color dye. But there's also trying something different. If you've never done some sort of a yoga class, people are giving so many things online. There are so many different things. If you look at museums, museums are giving away free, shows of their and music. And so there is so much online that people are giving away for free. And they are all those self-care things of listening to music and, watching, cakes being decorated, all of these things. Seeing how now that zoos are closed, they're doing all these different things where they're live streaming zoo, if you're interested in animals. So it's taking us out of, again, our safety zone. And it's really kind of, necessity is the motherhood of invention, right? Mm-hmm. And so really looking at and saying, that looks a little interesting. Maybe I'm going to give that a whirl for a few minutes and seeing if you like it, because we do have to take care of ourselves in completely different ways now. And they might be even deeper, richer ways of taking care of ourselves. Maybe some of that we're going to find that, maybe I don't need to do that. Now I know I can do it myself. Maybe I'm going to do something else. So we are now in a time where we've got to try something new.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And there's
I just want to add, you might have resourceful people right in your own home, because Mother's Day, my son gave me a manicure and he did a really great job. And I got a pedicure for my daughter. So you just never know.
They're good.
They've never done it before, and they were really good at it. So you never know.
That's so great. I would just piggyback on that too. I love that they did that for you. YouTube is just phenomenal. I'm like, how did we do things before YouTube. I know we did, but it's just so much easier, right? And so, you know, I find you can go on and with a little practice and a couple of shows, there's very different variations on how to dye your hair or to box braid your hair. You know, fortunate for me, I just have to twist and kind of go if I choose to even do that. That's kind of for me by the wayside, but you know, there's lots of things on even Facebook Live, you know, that I see the kids going on and learning how to put this thing together, or how to find a cheat in a game that they like to play. So I would say YouTube is a really great resource for those things that we miss, that, okay, we're going to have to do it ourselves if we want it done. How am I going to do it?
I'm right there with you. I did. I'm so guilty of that. I YouTubed it, and then this morning I dyed my hair.
Oh, it looks great.
Thanks. Feeling fresh. So getting a lot of positive feedback in the chats. You know, everybody's talking very positively about self-care and how important it is and how we so easily neglect it. So another question we've got coming in from Carolyn is, if someone has anxiety and or depression during this time, how do you balance trying to be productive with all of the extra time while also not feeling too much pressure or for doing too much? And she says, also, I'm loving these discussions and thank you for your advice.
Hi, Caroline. You know, I would go back to, I said the first three things of being nice, identifying if you need a schedule versus a plan, and then taking the respite. Yeah, we're definitely finding like, oh, we have this time. There's a lot of I shoulds. What if I do that? Or kind of all these great ideas of what we want to kind of get into. And then because for whatever reason you're feeling a little tired, or you get distracted, or it just then becomes overwhelming and then you're anxious, right? So I go back to be nice, be gentle with yourself. First, take time for you and try not to judge. I know it's hard, right? We do that a lot, but really just acknowledge the kind of the activities or the things that you're doing, and trying to remove the judgment of that. And then if you are a scheduler or if you are a planner, the way that I look at them, you know, for me, the schedule feels maybe a little rigid. It's helpful to have, right? Because we want to create structure to the best of our abilities, because that helps throughout our day. But if you're saying, you know, 9 o'clock do this, 12 o'clock do this, that might be a little overwhelming. That might create more anxiety. So maybe having a plan of I'm going to try to get 2 to 3 things done throughout the day versus 17, right? Because that just doesn't feel good. And then if we don't complete it all, that then just kind of perpetuates that cycle of anxiety, that cycle of depression. And then if you have to take a break, it is okay. It's all right. We find that balance. We take a moment. In fact, I would, when we go back to the log off or the respite, I would encourage people to take more breaks throughout this time rather than less. You know, when we're out in the world, we have kind of the distractions that we have to get done, whether we're working or the day to day and everything. And yet right now we really can't do that. A lot of us are stuck inside. And so our thoughts are racing. We're replaying a lot of the same not nice comments maybe to ourselves. And so let's take a break, actively, on purpose, do an activity where we are trying not to judge. We're focusing and bringing our attention, mindfulness, right, back to what we're doing, would be my suggestion for those individuals who are experiencing the anxiety and the depression. Taking the time out when they can, being nice to themselves, identify what works and go with that. And also keeping things small, right? We don't want to, again, have 17 things on our list. 2 to 3, 1 to 2, whatever works best for that individual. And then rely on your tools and your people.
Absolutely. Thank you. That was a great answer. We're going to switch over to Facebook Live and just grab a question from over there. If anyone else has any questions that they want to add into the Zoom group chat, please feel free while I field this one. We're going to go over to Facebook, and Tony Jean is wondering, along similar themes, she says, so many of us are primary caregivers and we tend to forget to take time for ourselves. How can we do that? And what about the single parents of multiple children? Just how do we find the time?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again, Robin? I apologize. I heard the parent part and then I was like,
Oh yeah, no problem, no problem. So we've got Tony Jean, and she's wondering, like, what about the single parents of multiple children? How can they simply find the time to take for themselves?
Okay. I think you said Sarah Jean. That is a great question. I'll take it, Mary, if that's
Tony
okay.
Jean.
Oh, Tony Jean, I apologize. Yeah, that's all right, Mary? Okay. You know, that is hard. It definitely is, but it is important. So we have to have a conversation with the kids. I don't know the ages, because that definitely plays a role in how you take time for you. We have to find it. And I'm not saying, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 5 minutes. If you are pausing for 5 minutes just to take a breath, to close your eyes, to kind of do a body scan or whatever works for you, that counts, as long as you are actively doing it and on purpose. But yeah, if you have multiple children, they're I visualize them like one on the leg, the other one, mom, this one doing that one, some over there fighting. Been there. It has to, you have to kind of create that routine again. What is the expectation? What are the boundaries for the household? If you are having visual aids for them of like, these are the activities, these are what you're doing, you're expected to get these again for the plan, these things throughout the day. So depending again on their ages, they can go ahead and do that on their own. If they're much younger and you're having a nap time, definitely try to get those nap times in. So then that's your time, right? They're napping, and you take a little bit of the time to kind of decompress for yourself, to find that respite. Just some other ideas might be to, allow the kids to play a game rather than being, the school stuff Mary had alluded to earlier, like, yeah, they have to do the school stuff, but at the same time, right now, this is a different time. And so it's okay if they need to step away from that for a little bit. And if it's going to offer the opportunity for, the moms or the single mom to take a break too, that's all right. One thing is being strategic, having the games out or the puzzles out that might get their attention. So then they're going to go and maybe fiddle and do that. And you can sit back and have your coffee or mindfully drink some tea, or maybe you're coloring with them. A lot of times we're crowding in our time with the family time, if that makes any sense. So it might be we're all at the table and they're in an activity, and maybe you are, purposefully using that family time to take a breath for yourself as well. I'd say go run to the bathroom. I don't know if any of you guys are the moms, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. They find you in there. So maybe not the best thing, but yeah. But if you have a partner and they can, take the kids for a little bit, well, that's ideal, right? But it doesn't always happen.
Okay. I think that, go ahead, Mary, sorry.
I just wanted to say, one of the things is, if you're a single parent, please lower your expectations of yourself. So many parents are trying to keep their houses clean. And if you changed your child's sheets once a week, guess what? You know what? Maybe it's not going to happen this week. I don't know if anybody's ever gone off the deep end because their sheets weren't changed in a week or so. Lowering our expectations. This is a unique time. There's nobody who knows what they're doing. Nobody who knows what they're doing. The other thing too, if you are a single parent, your strategy usually is, I am it and I can do everything. And please, letting yourself know, no, you can't do everything. Even if you think you can, nobody can. And so really, it's all about what Erica was talking about, was that self-compassion, setting realistic expectations. Guess what? Your house should be a mess if you're a single mother with children during a pandemic and no school. If you can walk from one room to the next, I say woo woo for you. So really, exactly. There you go, Robin. So really trying to lower our expectations and say, I am doing the best I can. And so are my kids.
Yeah. Absolutely. That was powerful. And now I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just feeling good. But it doesn't look like there's any other questions, but I did want to say there was a lot of positive feedback in here. Joelle, I love the discussion on self-care. We've got, let's see, Tanisha, it's so critical. And then moving over to Facebook, there's some comments from Moni, such a great idea from some of the things that you said earlier, Mary. Lots and lots of very positive feedback. So ladies, thank you so much for everything that you were able to discuss with us today.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, Kai, Mary, Erica, thank you so much. Robin, as always, thank you for being my co-host who knows what she's doing.
I will be the Kathleen, your Hoda.
I just want to really quickly, we're just going to share some information about Safe Connect. Hold on just one moment. All right, so just want to make sure everyone has the contact information about Safe Connect. So Safe Connect is a project of CCADV. It's Connecticut's domestic violence resource hub. It's available 24/7 via call, text, chat, and email. These are some of the services that Safe Connect will provide you. Counseling, safety planning. Right now, restraining orders in Connecticut are all done online, so Safe Connect advocates can assist victims with filling those out and getting those into the court. We also do obviously information and referral, and we make that safe connection for victims to their local domestic violence organization, one of CCADV's 18 member organizations, for that ongoing support and services locally. Again, all services confidential, safe, free, and voluntary, and bilingual services are available. Again, you can get us call, text, chat, or email at ctsafeconnect.org or 888-774-2900. These are our 18 wonderful member organizations. So again, all throughout the state, we have a member organization who can provide that ongoing support and services to victims and survivors. And finally, today, if you had any questions, please feel free to reach out to Kai. Again, she's clinical director of Safe Connect. She can be reached at kbelton@ctcadv.org. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. And, if you can next Wednesday, May 20th at 2 p.m., please join us again for our next Facebook Live conversation. We'll be joined by Annie Stockton-Sabrowski, who is CCADV's Director of Housing Advocacy, and she will be talking about housing protections during COVID-19 for survivors. So I think that's it for today. Again, thanks everyone for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.